In the shadow of the whispering peaks, there lived a boy named Jaya. He was quick of foot, but quicker of temper. His ears, it seemed, were tuned to a frequency no one else could hear, the frequency of slight, of mockery, of scorn. Each day, as he walked the winding path to the village well, the wind would carry fragments of conversation. A merchant's laugh, a farmer's grumble, a child's teasing chant, and each time, Jaya's neck would flush, his fists would clench, and he would spin around, searching for the culprit. Who called me thin? He would shout at the empty road. Who whispered that I am clumsy? He would cry to the market stalls. But the speakers were always gone, swallowed by the crowd, or had never been speaking of him at all. Still, Jaya could not let it go. The word burrowed under his skin like thorns, and he carried them home each evening, laying them out before his mother like wounded birds. "They mock me, mother," he would say. "The world is full of venom." His mother, a gentle woman with eyes like still water, would only stir her tea and reply, "The world, my son, is a mirror, but you keep throwing stones at it." Jaya did not understand. He believed the world was a battlefield of voices, and he was its lone, wounded soldier. One afternoon, a traveling monk passed through the village. He was old, with a face like crumpled parchment and a staff that tapped a slow, patient rhythm against the stones. Jaya, brooding on his doorstep, overheard the monk telling the village elder, "In the mountains, every word you speak returns to you. The wise choose their words as carefully as they choose their footsteps." Jaya's ears perked. "Returns to you," Jaya thought. Yes, that was it. The insults he heard were like arrows shot from some hidden archer. But if he could find the archer, if he could chase the words to their source, he could silence them forever. That night, he packed a small bag of rice, a water gourd, and a burning resolve. Before dawn, he slipped out of his hut and into the gray mist of the mountains. The first echo came at sunrise. He stood at the edge of a cliff and shouted into the void. "Who called me? Earthless." The mountains answered, "Less, less, less." Jaya's heart raced. There, the voice was fading into the eastern ridge. He ran. He scrambled over scree and boulder, his sandals slipping on wet moss. When he reached the ridge, he shouted again, "Why do you hurt me?" The mountains replied, "Hurt me, hurt me, hurt me." He chased it west, then north, then deeper into the labyrinth of canyons where the sun barely reached. Each time he shouted, the voice returned, but it was always just ahead, always retreating, always mocking him with its pale imitation. By noon, his throat was raw. By dusk, his legs trembled, and still the echoes danced like phantoms, never letting him close enough to grab them. Exhausted, he collapsed in a high meadow where the wind was still. The stars began to emerge, cold and indifferent, and in that silence, for the first time, Jaya heard something other than his own fury. He heard the trickle of a hidden stream. He heard the rustle of a fox in the brush. He heard the slow, rhythmic breath of the mountain itself, ancient, patient, unmoved by his tantrums. And then, faintly, he heard his own voice from hours ago, bouncing off a distant peak. "Worthless, hurt me." But now, without his anger, it sounded different. It sounded thin, lonely, almost pitiful, he realized with a jolt, that he had been shouting the same words over and over all day. The echoes were not the voices of others, where his own voice returned to him. But if that was true, if every insult he heard was merely his own shout bouncing back, then who had started the shouting? He sat upright, his mind racing. The merchants, the farmers, the children, they had not called him thin, clumsy, worthless. They had laughed and grumbled and chanted about their own lives. But Jaya had been carrying a heavy sack of self-doubt, and he had thrown its contents at the world, demanding to see his own pain reflected back. The world, he now saw, was not a weapon. It was a canyon, and a canyon does not create sound. It only returns what is given. He thought of his mother's words. The world is a mirror. A mirror does not invent a scowl. It only shows you the face you bring to it. As the moon rose, Jaya did something he had never done. He did not shout, he did not accuse. He sat in the grass, placed his hands on his knees, and spoke softly into the darkness. "I am afraid." The mountain whispered back, "Afraid." "I am tired," he said. "Tired. I am sorry." A long pause. Then, softer than a moth's wing, the echo returned, "Sorry." And for the first time, Jaya did not feel mocked. He felt heard. The echo had not added venom. It had simply repeated his own offering. When he offered fear, it gave him fear. When he offered apology, it gave him pardon. He stayed there all night, speaking to the mountains, as if they were a wise old friend, and with each gentle word, the canyon grew gentler in return. At dawn, he walked down the mountain, his bag lighter, his heart quieter. When he entered the village, the merchant laughed, and Jaya heard only joy. The farmer grumbled, and Jaya heard only weather. The children chanted, and Jaya heard only play. They had not changed. The world had not changed. But Jaya had stopped throwing stones at the mirror. From that day on, whenever a sharp word pricked his ear, he would pause and ask, "Is this my echo?" And if it was, he would let it pass, like a cloud through an empty sky. And if it was not, he would let it pass anyway, because a wise man knows that not every sound requires a chase. Years later, when Jaya himself became an old monk, a young boy came to him, fists clenched, eyes burning with the same fire he once carried. "Hey, mock me, teacher," the boy said. "The world is full of venom." Jaya smiled, his eyes like still water, and stirred his tea. "The world, my child, is a mirror. Tell me, what face are you bringing to it today?" And the boy, for the first time, fell silent. The lesson. The mind is like a canyon. It returns whatever you send into it. If you shout anger, you will hear anger. If you whisper peace, you will hear peace. The world does not create your suffering. It only reflects it. To change the echo, you need not silence the mountain. You need only to change the voice that speaks. Is the world full of venom, or are we just whispering into a canyon and mistaking the echo for an attack?